I am back from my elongated break over summer vacation. I'm going to be starting to track systems again. I will be going live later this afternoon, tracking Henri as it approaches that landfall point, give you guys the latest information. So be sure not to miss that and click that bell down notification, as well as don't forget to subscribe. We are looking at Henri tonight, which is approaching the coast of the New England area, where we are likely to see hurricane force impacts or at least strong tropical storm force winds in that circled area. The track for Henri has been shifting west in the last couple of days, originally starting over here. Now we're looking at the possibility of a little bit more eastward track at this point. Impacts to Rhode Island are becoming increasingly likely, as well as impacts to the Massachusetts area more than New York or Connecticut at this point. Landfall point still close to Connecticut, basically straight due north, but at this point it is a possibility that we again see that trend towards the east. I wouldn't say we're going to be seeing a main landfall at this point, but potentially a very eastern Massachusetts landfall or a Rhode Island landfall rather than New York or Connecticut landfall with this system. We did see this increase to 75 mile per hour, 991 millibars after a long track through the open Atlantic, originally starting northwards of Bermuda, and now doing that loop through the north. We've seen this storm stay right around 60 mile per hour throughout this time, strengthening to 70, weakening slightly, and now again it is making that push towards the west, making that landfall in the United States in the coming days. We're looking at an event for about 24 hours, so people in this area should start really doing their preparations or we get to that landfall point. Looking at current radar satellite imagery, again, this is a hurricane, guys. I want to stress that this isn't a tropical storm. You have Virginia here, as well, West Virginia, North Carolina here on that eastern side of the storm, or just on the western side. Again, you can see storm right now currently moving due north with that low-level center right here. Most of that convection and cloud cover dispersed to the east of the system with little to no convection cover on that northwestern side. That is likely to change as this do start to wrap around and we get a little bit more favorable conditions. For the moment here, strongest winds likely on that eastern quadrant of the storm, where those 75 mile per hour have been found spreading quite a bit far outside from the center here. But at this point here, again, you can see that low-level center rotating here on those latest frame. And if it does continue to be moving northward, like I said, we would be looking at the possibility, again, for a little bit more of a westward track or eastern shift on this storm. Current model's intensity are showing a strengthening storm. This is the GFS right now, 984 millibars in about 6 hours. Currently, we're at 990 millibars, showing a strengthening storm as it does move through the Gulf Stream. Obviously, Gulf Stream goes right like this, so the storm will be moving right over the Gulf Stream as it heads generally due north towards Massachusetts and Rhode Island area. By the time it does make landfall, GFS has this storm at 984 millibars. On the other hand, the National Hurricane Center has a weakening storm approaching landfall, being downgraded to tropical storm status right before that landfall point. This is going to be due again to the cooler waters right up there as it does reaches that point. Currently, it is in that warm Gulf Stream right now, but that will change in the coming days, like I said. But GFS does show this making landfall and then completely dissipating as a cold front comes through here. Either way, we are looking at significant winds from this. As we look at the CMC here really quickly, you can see that we have a little bit of a different scenario here. Already a weaker storm with this system moving through here. And again, strengthening up to landfall, which seems to be the trend now. Now look at this. This is where landfall point is. This is where the storm is currently more to the north. So again, if it does move north, landfall point where it moves east. And this is a good thing as most of the population is to the west of that new area where the storm is likely to make that landfall. And with that convection displaced to the east of it, we will be seeing most of the impact offshore and away from the main areas like New York City, Connecticut, and New Jersey, where some of that impacts was possible earlier, where the track was farther east. So now we are getting a little bit of better news as the track continues to shift to the east again. and we'll see if that does continue to happen in the next couple of days. We do have a recon currently heading in there. You can see here the storm obviously finding what is being predicted. We have a little bit of weaker winds on that northern side where we have limited convection. Southwestern side here around 60 knots. That's about 70 miles per hour. And then likely when recon does pass through this eastern side, we're likely to be seeing those hurricane force winds popping up. Again, the reason why those winds are a little bit weaker here on the side of the storm is because we have, again, limited convection on this side because of a little bit of shear and just colder waters. And the storm isn't in the most favorable conditions. Obviously, we're not looking at grace rapidly intensifying to a category 3 in 24 hours. We're looking at a slow strengthening system up to landfall, potentially maybe 80 miles per hour at this point. If we look at that drier satellite image, you can see that we have a little bit of dry air present with this system, mostly to the west, to the west of it, where again we do have limited amount of wind shear here. You can see that dry air really moving is from this upper level low or trough here that's been moving here, and this is going to be helping the storm push back again towards the east or the west. But as you can see right now, it is continuing to move generally this way, which is why that landfall point it still could skim the coast. National Hurricane Center is still looking at this pushing a little bit earlier. National Hurricane Center going with a landfall right around here. This point getting a little bit more unlikely, but as you can see that mass of dry air right here, and that does tend to maybe try to get sucked in that circulation. Hasn't really happened yet, but you can definitely see that there's a little bit of a lack of convection here and moisture on that side compared to the rest. But this should help the storm really push a little bit more to the north here. And we still have a little bit, you can see those winds going this way, showing a slight wind shear coming again from the west here, imparting a little bit of shear, which is why we have that convection displaced, like I've been saying. Otherwise, storm, this is where, again, the Gulf Stream's passing. So it is in those warmer waters. And as it gets closer to landfall, we're going to be getting a lot colder waters. This is all I have for you guys today for tropical or Hurricane Henri right now, as it will be making landfall. Again, hurricane warnings in effect for the coast right here. So if you're in this area, do get your preparations ready. And even if you're out in Massachusetts, do be aware that there's a chance that this storm does come by here in that area, especially if it does continue in this general direction. We could see it curve towards the Massachusetts area. This is all I have, and I'll see you at our live stream a little bit later today, and be sure